All right. So it's been a long time coming for this video. This is the video I promised recently about a retrospective on my life coaching experience. And hopefully the audio sounds good. I just started using this new mic and it is a little bit windy right now outside on this trail, but we'll see how it goes. So to start, why did I seek out the help of a life coach? Great question. So as I talked about in one of my former videos, the one about being a people pleaser, I found myself in a pattern of roles in my connections that basically, in its shortest form, is I'm looking for attention, affirmation, love, affection, and I just give to try to get those things. It's basically like, well, if I give other people what I want, then I'll get it back. And it's almost like a restless manipulation where I would get connected to people and identify little slots in their life where I could kind of integrate myself and become absolutely essential and make myself so useful that they kind of couldn't live without me. And I subconsciously, I think that was giving me a false sense of security, that it's like, okay, if I can become indispensable, then, you know, I'll never be alone, or I'll always have someone to give me what I want and to satisfy my needs. Oh, wow, sorry, it's a beautiful day. Take a look. Anyways, so I just kind of hit a breaking point with getting into these situations over and over again, where I felt like the more I gave, the less I got. And I felt very restless all the time and anxious, and couldn't stay in one place more than a few weeks without just getting kind of depressed and lethargic, yet at the same time restless and stir crazy and just needing to go somewhere. And so I found on YouTube this guy named Clayton Olsen, and I found a couple videos of his that really resonated with me. And I noticed at the end of his videos, because I kept watching his stuff, he made the invitation that anyone that was interested to fill out this form online and basically reach out to try to connect one-on-one and actually work with him in a client coaching capacity. And so one day I was just like, you know, I'm just gonna go for it. I'm just gonna fill out the thing and see what happens. So I went to his website and I found the contact form and I filled it out, and didn't really expect to hear anything back. And then, to my surprise, a couple weeks later, I get an email back from Clayton asking if I wanted to call him and connect. So I said yes, and he sent me his number and we set up a time. And I recall the day I was at the cabin with some family, and I had actually kind of forgotten that I had this call scheduled. And then fortunately I had put it in my calendar and it said coaching call, and I was like, oh shoot, I gotta go. So I run out into the woods because I wanted some privacy for the stuff that I thought I might be discussing. And I found a nice spot and I called him And it was kind of crazy to call this number and hear the voice of someone that I had just been watching on YouTube. Just it was kind of like the feeling of seeing someone on TV and then actually talking to them. It was very strange, but it was kind of cool, but I was also very nervous. And it was also just nerve-wracking to talk to someone about what was on my heart and on my mind and what was kind of distressing me. Oh wow, this is so beautiful. I just gotta share this little spot here. Wow, this is beautiful. All right, where was I? All right, so I talked to Clayton and I just kind of word vomited at him for like an hour. And at the end of it, he said, well, John, you seem like a smart guy and you could probably figure this stuff out on your own. So if you feel okay with the conversation we just had and want to go our separate ways from here, that's perfectly fine. But if you would like to talk again, let me know and we'll set something up. So I took the invite to talk to him again, and I connected with him about 2 weeks later, and we had another hour and a half call, and kind of getting that first conversation agita out of my system, I felt a little more comfortable talking to him the second time. And that was more of our first real session. That's where we really started doing some work and digging in. And the thing that's nice about working with Clayton is he never tells you what to do. He just asks questions, but he asks the right questions. They're never easy, but you know, he helps you cut through to what you're really saying, in a sense, like to embrace what's really going on inside. And he does that by asking the right questions. So at any rate, I'm getting a little bit more detailed here than I thought I would. But yeah, so I started out this coaching relationship with Clayton. And like I said, I felt restless, anxious, wasn't comfortable being anywhere. I wasn't enjoying my connections with my friends and family. I was just so desperate for meaningful connection that when I would start having a conversation with someone that I thought I might want to explore that with, instead of just being in the moment and being authentic, I was always trying to think like 2 or 3 steps ahead, kind of almost like playing chess, and trying to steer and control the conversation to basically keep the flow going, the flow of attention, the flow of chemistry, the flow of love, depending on the conversation. And by working so hard to have a finite goal with each conversation, I wasn't really there. I wasn't really engaging with the moment. I wasn't really being honest with myself or engaging with the person I was talking to, because I was spending so much time just risk forecasting and making sure that we steered away from awkward or unpleasant topics and just not really being very real and overthinking. And it's absolutely exhausting communicating with someone in that way. I just didn't know any other way to do it. So over the course of 6 months of working with Clayton, we started working on this stuff. And my expectation of working with a life coach would be, day one, you set up this plan, then you chart it out into, very measurable, tangible steps and achievements to hit along the way, because that's kind of how I work in my professional life. I'm good at boiling and breaking things down into simple, achievable steps to lead us to success. But the path to integration and inner peace and growth is not in a straight line. And what I really liked about Clayton's style is, he had this template that he shared with me in a Google document where it was called a session prep form. And you'd basically fill out like, hey, what's on your mind? What's going on? What are you worried about right now? What steps have you taken to work towards solving those things? Is there any feedback you have? Almost like pre-planning the call. And I would try to fill that out the day before our session. I'd usually fill it out about 15 minutes before though. But what was cool is every time we'd start the call, he would say, all right, well, I saw your session prep and I think I've got an idea of where you want to go with this. But before we dive into that, I just want to check in with you and just see, how you're doing and what's on your mind right now, what's hot right now for you. Because at least for the first several months that we were working together, I was kind of trying to steer us towards just conquering these things, conquering anxious attachment style, conquering having a hard time getting closure and letting go of some past stuff. And I just wanted to be on the other side so badly. And he kind of had a way of very gently reining in and being like, well, how are you feeling? Like, what's going on? And by taking this kind of like gentle, more walking side by side, nonlinear approach, he really helped me to embrace and give voice to the parts of me and the thoughts that I had that I just thought were unacceptable, that I would condemn, that I would reject within myself. And really, if there is the number one thing I would thank Clayton and thank myself for pursuing that coaching relationship is really learning who I am, the good, the bad, and the ugly, and learning how to love all the parts, even the parts that I'm the least proud of or the most ashamed of. One of the first exercises we did was he kind of had me visualize how I show up in my relationships and asked me to personify all of the parts of me that show up. And there were good parts, there were kind of neutral parts, there were bad parts. And what he encouraged in that exercise was to recognize that every part of me has my best interest in mind, even if their methods are not always preferred. And that I understood what that meant, but it took a while for it to really sink in that, hey, every feeling I have, every thought I have, like the greater consciousness that's in the driver's seat that sees these things as almost separate voices, like you can't just squash those parts out and ignore them just because maybe they're not true, maybe the methods are not ideal. And he really helped me learn how to give voice to those parts of myself and kind of let them have their 2 cents with me, so to speak. And by just opening that internal flow, those internal pathways, it helped me actually let go of my most negative feelings, the cynicism, the darkness and jealousy, all that stuff. Another great lesson that I learned from Clayton was something called the gratitude mindset. So without hearing any other context, you might just think the gratitude mindset means be thankful for stuff. And sure, that's definitely important. That's definitely part of it. But it was actually a very simple thing, a very simple exercise. And it's basically just to train myself to, when I look at a situation, a person, a place, anything like that, to see, just track what's actually there. What's there? What do I know? Rather than seeing the absence of things. Like if you've ever been having a conversation with someone and be like, oh, I wish we were talking about this other thing instead, or you go somewhere and it's like, oh, I wish the weather was this or that. I mean, those examples are a little silly, but it's just learning to recognize what's there, and that kind of helps you get out of your head with these kind of like dreaming of what could be or what you're afraid might be, and just kind of grounds you into the present. So you can actually just embrace and see what is reality, what's in front of me right now, and focus on that and engage with that. You're a woodpecker. Oh, there it is. I don't know if you guys can see that. You guys really going to town up there? Sorry, apparently I get distracted easily. So, I had really grand plans for this video when I first conceptualized it, of this high production value with these cool transitions and amazing B-roll and using my drone and all this cool stuff. And I kept kind of pushing off making it because I was so worried about those details. But then I kind of just realized the other day, you know, all that stuff is fun, and I'll definitely exercise that creativity in some other content that I want to make. But the important thing here is the message and just unpacking the experience. And it's great for me because it's been a few weeks since Clayton and I finished up now, and it's nice to kind of revisit everything. I actually took the time to go back and listen to all of our sessions. That's another nice thing. Clayton he offers to, if you want, he offers to record all the sessions and then sends them to you, which is great because let me tell you, when we were in the middle of coaching, there was only one session that I listened back to when we were in the middle of it, but now going back and listening to it all from the beginning, it's crazy. I mean, I knew the work that we had done, but like to go back and just hear the anxiety and the restlessness in my own voice and just kind of get teleported back to that mindset, it really gave me the perspective on where we've come. So there's a lot more stuff that we worked on. There's a lot more exercises we did. There are books that Clayton recommended to me that I absolutely love, that made a huge impact. Some of them I've shared with close friends and family, and it's made an impact on them as well, which is beautiful. But I may just kind of fast forward because I talked about my mindset at the beginning of the coaching relationship, where I was, how I was feeling, how I was showing up with my connections. And now, on the other side of all this, it's so different. I mean, I haven't changed per se. I'm still John. I'm still kind of crazy and quirky and attention loving, and we'll call it emotionally dynamic, or maybe a little turbulent. But one of the differences, I could say all those things with a smile because I love and own that that's who I am now, and I'm not ashamed of any of it. So a few weeks ago, I went down to Florida to get my second COVID shot. And I was only there for about a week. And I visited some family down there, some family that I had not seen in many months. Some family that I had only met once or twice because they were extended family. And it was so funny because I just found that the whole time I was down there, spending time with these people and talking with them, I could feel a sense of calm, a sense of being present, of feeling like I could be authentic without trying to hide any feelings or have any walls up, and just be in the moment and really engage with people. And it was absolutely incredible. And by just not being afraid and not worrying about where the conversation might go and just not worrying about any of that, I found myself literally just being showered with love and affection and attention the whole time I was there from all these people. And it just made me smile and laugh afterwards when I was thinking about it, because it's like, man, I used to spend so much time worrying about how to force those things to happen and make those things happen and control situations to try to steer them towards that, because I thought that that's the only way it could happen. And this time, by just letting go, and I don't want to say like that I didn't want that stuff anymore. Of course I did. I do. Like, I love attention, love and affection, and I always will. And I'm not afraid to say it. But by not trying to manipulate people into giving that to me, I got more than I could ever ask for, which was just incredible. And so now today, I'm enjoying my relationships and connections with my friends and family more than I ever have. I'm really enjoying being in my beautiful home state of Maine and just seeing the beauty around me and sleeping through the night peacefully, not restless, not feeling like I gotta go somewhere and gotta be achieving something and seeking some higher status or just level of being more interesting so that more people would pay attention to me. Like, all of that is just, it's gone. And yeah, if you stayed this long, thank you, because it's been a lot. But the top two things that I got out of my coaching experience was, and this might sound kind of cliche, but learning how to accept and love myself, and learning how to truly love other people. And that doesn't mean that I love everyone, but it means that the people that I do love, I can just love them without trying to get anything from them or without needing anything from them, and just realizing that feeling love for someone is such a privilege in and of itself. And love is one of the best feelings you could ever have. And to just kind of be at a point where I can feel that and just sit with it and be at peace with it and nothing more. I think that really, for me, was the key and the most important work. that I did over the last 6 months. If anyone that's watching this is feeling not at peace with themselves, feeling distraught, feeling restless, anxious, unstable, depressed, you don't have to do it alone. And I understand that sometimes when you're in that state, it's really hard to lean on friends and family, and I don't think it's always appropriate to do so. So I would invite you, if you're feeling any of those things, to seek out a professional to talk to. It doesn't have to be a life coach. It could be a therapist, a psychologist, a counselor, you name it. But just the impact and the freedom of having someone you can talk to that is outside your sphere, that can be objective, that has no personal stake in any outcome for you or your life, is very valuable, because you can really be honest with that person, because you're not afraid of disappointing them. You're not afraid that they're trying to get something from you, and you're also not trying to get anything from them either. So, like I said, please reach out to someone. There's so many resources now, even for online. I mean, my whole coaching experience I did, it was all just phone calls, but there's so many different ways you can do it now. I know people who are texting a therapist. I know people that are video calling, people that are doing a hybrid experience. No matter what your situation is, whether you can travel or not, or drive or not, or have weird times with work, there's always a way. There's always a way to do it now. And if anyone is interested in working with or talking to Clayton specifically, I will go ahead and drop a link to his YouTube channel and to his website in the description of this video. All right, guys, thank you very much, and I'll talk to you soon.